to That Was the News That Was. Dateline, 5th of April. Do you know I've been going for over 6 months now? And I hope we'll be going for another year, at least. There is the difficulty, my dear listeners, getting guests. Although the guest show is a brilliant idea and is unique, because I get mostly lived experience. Today I interviewed 2 ladies, 2 women, to correct my language, 2 women from a charity called Just Life. It's about the work they're doing, which is amazing. But I enjoy this one. This is my personal little thing. That was the news. And I'm looking. The latest figures show that the Tories might end up with, when they have the general election, 100 seats or less. A disaster for what has been the most popular party in this country's history. I spoke once before that in a couple of centuries ago, there were only 2 parties. Labour didn't exist. There were the Whigs, WHIG, and the Tories. The Whigs soon disappeared. Some of them went into what was known as the Liberal Party. Some actually joined the Conservatives. And it's gone through several different things. Look at the Liberal Party. Became the Liberal Democrats. History of political parties change. I think that I was speaking to somebody today who is a Tory voter. If they brought machine guns out, I think he would still vote Tory. That's his right, ladies and gentlemen. We all have a right to vote for who we want. I spoke to somebody, I was talking about one of my bills to somebody, I haven't mentioned this podcast. She's a Labour voter. Whatever happens, she'll vote Labour. Because in my generation, and my parents' generation, it was tradition to vote the way. I remember once saying to my father, I mentioned this one before, it was the local elections in Tower Hamlets, and I said, I think, Dad, I'm going to vote Liberal Democrats. For the first time ever, he turned around to me and said, no, you won't. You'll vote Labour. We're a Labour family. And that's the way certain people are. Still, now. Doesn't make sense to me. At the last general election, I'll admit, I couldn't vote. I would not vote Conservative. I thought they were still doing bad, in my eyes. Because of Jeremy Corbyn, I couldn't vote Labour. Who was I going to vote for? Well, there's the right to vote. I voted the Green Party. They had not a chance in hell in the borough I was in at the time, which is Lewisham, which is a very strong Labour area. But it's to me to voice my dissent of the Labour Party that period. Who I will vote next in that general election, all I can say is it won't be Conservative. I think the Conservatives have done a bad job to this country. The latest I read today, if we go on to news, is I saw this morning actually. Excuse me. Is that because of Brexit, from the 29th of April, any food imported from the European Common Market, as we're not part of it, we have to pay a surcharge on. Now that means it's not us, it'll be the food companies who are paying it in, and that bill will be passed on to the people. That means your food bill's going up again. If you may remember, when Brexit came out, I think it was Farage who said it, £350 million goes to the European coal market every week. That will be coming back to this country. It never has. At that time, actually, whoever, I can't say who it was, I can't remember, who was the Chancellor Exchequer, said that won't happen. But people don't believe things. I don't believe things. So now we're looking at May probably, or it'll probably see through about June, I imagine. Siphon through about June. Our food bills will go up again. Now, although we have had a cut in the power company bills this very month, I haven't seen much change in my bill. I don't know about you. And that'd be interesting. So, people's funding is going down, and we're still going down. I know that I was discussing this with a friend of mine today about the benefit system. I'm on the pension. Now, in my letter, when I got the letter of the increase in the pension, it says it starts on the 14th of April. So I won't receive the increase till May. It will be for those weeks from the 14th. Now, last year, something happened that I was curious about. I never got an answer for. I should have persevered. My pension payment was about the 7th, if my memory serves me, and I'm pretty good with these sort of things, about the 17th of April. I noticed, because at the moment I get something called the attendance allowance, which is probably coming to an end for me. Because at that time, when I first applied for it, I couldn't walk. Now, thank God I can walk. I noticed the attendance now had gone up straight away. So I contacted the pension office and asked why. They then said to me, it so happened the day after I got my pension, that's when the increase is happening. Now I shall be receiving my next pension on Friday the 12th. Funny, it increases from the 14th. Doesn't make sense. The pensioners are very highly regarded by government already. The Conservative Party said they're going to keep the triple lock for them if they get in. They realise their vote is needed. I do believe Labourers agree with this. I cannot tell you, but I know definitely Conservatives are. If we look at what's happened with this budget, it shocked me, the budget this year. Well, from the autumn statement, what they actually said, everybody was talking about cuts, because where we're going to get all this money from to pay out all this extra money. They'd already been locked into the treble lock for pensioners. But then all of a sudden, they get a 6.7% increase to people on benefits. They're taking off 2% of national insurance. Where's all this money coming from? It's quite interesting, actually, because when it was the battle between Truss and Sunak, sat down. He said, "I don't want my grandchildren to have to suffer the debts for this sort of thing." As we do know, when Truss came in, we did suffer debt. What about now? Where's this money coming from? It's found from somewhere. I was surprised, because I thought what they're going to do is they're going to freeze benefits. I was also surprised they increased the housing benefit, which had been frozen for about 5 years. Now, was it 3 years? Sorry, 3 years. Since 2020, they increased it by 30%. Matt Downey wrote a letter about this, and he said it would go up by 6%, which was the current rate of inflation last year. Is that bribery? Would that help people who are looking for housing? I doubt it. I really doubt it. I don't think there's going to be much chance there. Now, there's a couple of bills going through Parliament at the moment. And I want to talk about one I've spoken about before, the Rent Reform Act. Now, in that, Mr. Grove has actually said they're going to abolish Section 21. And then earlier this week, I was seeing how it's been watered down. I've asked the press office for a quote. Now, see if anybody remembers this quote. I'm just getting up on my... Hold on a minute, please. Oh, I'm looking at the wrong one. I'm looking at my spam box. Okay. A line is, it said something about she asked me what publication I'm writing for, which is reasonable, as long as I forget. A do-like postman said our landmark renters reform bill would deliver a fairer private rented sector for both tenants and landlords. It will abolish Section 21 evictions, giving people more security in their homes and empowering them to challenge poor practices. The bill must strike the balance between delivering security for tenants and fairness for landlords. We have listened to feedback from landlords and tenant groups and from MPs and bring recommendations forward at comments report stage after Easter recess. That's interesting, isn't it? We just had the Easter recess. So probably next week we'll hear more, and I'll probably report on it next week. Because to me, that's almost word. It's not word for word, but just saying what the bill is supposed to do, but not how it's supposed to do it. I'd be very interested. It has been stuck in. It's had 2 readings in the House of Parliament. No readings in the House of Lords, which is unusual. And then it was stuck in committee stage until a few weeks ago. So I'm going to be very interested in what it comes out of this. And I will be reporting on this as soon as I hear it. The other bill I want to talk about hasn't been spoken much about, but is an important one. I'm now seeking somebody to come on the podcast to talk about it. Is the Criminal Justice Act. This act is supposed to give police more power. An example can be, but the thing that a lot of homeless organisations are talking about, it's now to give the police the power to actually arrest and a homeless person to be fined. Now you might think that's right. Let me ask you a question of that. The fine is supposed to be a maximum of £2,500. Where's a homeless person going to get that money from? I never had it. Actually, before this was the Vagrancy Act they repealed. They're just trying to replace the Vagrancy Act with these powers. I don't know many people who actually were charged with the Vagrancy Act, I must admit. I will look into that. So I just thought of that just now. But the Vagrancy Act is really, was terrible. Actually, the reason the Vagrancy Act was from 18... what was it? I think it was 1894. I might be wrong on that one. And a person on the street found could be fined up to a maximum of £1,000. A mere pittance in those days. But even now, if I turn around to you and said you were doing something illegal, I'm going to fine you £1,000, how many of you would say you can easily get your hands on it without going to your credit cards or going for a loan? Don't think many would. So this is total and utterly once again, political slanting. There was a minister actually said, very humorous piece, I thought it was funny, that they will not be charged, a homeless person won't be arrested for smelling badly. Not for smelling, but smelling badly. In my experience, and my personal experience, okay, I've only had one interaction with a policeman. It was the third night I was out in the street. I found a place which ended up being my home away from home, so to speak. It was a doorstep off Fleet Street in Chancery Lane. It's a doorstep of a betting shop, funny enough. All there were offices as well above. And I think it was the second night I was there. I was getting ready to sleep, and all of a sudden I heard this voice saying, "What are you doing here?" Looked up, so it's a policeman. Well, I thought, unless because you're thick, you wouldn't know what I'm doing, but I couldn't have said that. So I said, "I'm going to go to sleep." He said, "No, you're not. If you're here by the time I get back, you'll be nicked." And he went off. Now, I've never been in trouble with the police. And I was scared, honestly. So I started to get ready. And then I looked down. It was coming down like anything. And I thought, at least if I'm nicked, I'll be inside out to dry. Oh, I thought I'd go to sleep. Well, I woke up. No policeman. Nobody came back. I thought nothing of it. The following day, evening, I was sitting on the doorstep. Before I went to sleep, I had a cigarette. All of a sudden, a police car arrived and parked. There was a car in front on the road in front of my doorway, and there was a space. He parked just in front of that and just went up to that car to make a few notes. I thought, I'm nicked. But I said nothing. And he started going back to his car, so I stopped him. I told him what happened. And he said to me, he's not allowed to do that. I'm saying I've discovered, actually, a doorstep is private property. The only people who can move you are the people who own that private property. About 5 months later, I came back to that doorstep. Somebody was sleeping there. Now, you don't own where you're sleeping. I know some guys seem to think territorial, but that's my thought. Got there too late, this guy's sleeping there. So I went round to a church that I knew in Hope, and I went to sleep there. About 7 o'clock, we heard this noise. "Yeah, come on, boys, you got to move. About 4 or 5 policemen there. There was all turns to move on. All of a sudden, the verger came out of the church. Said, "So you can't do that. They have permission to sleep here." And that's the thing. I never knew about this. I've learned more about this private property area. That's why sometimes you'll see somebody's tent right against the wall. As they're against the wall, they become part of that private property. Interesting, isn't it? Never thought about it. But this, I don't think they could have done you on the Vagrancy Act. And the reason the Vagrancy Act came, as so, just from the Napoleonic Wars, a lot of soldiers were sleeping around in areas. So they wanted to get rid of them. I think that's it, really. I would like to ask a question. There are several areas I'm now looking into. Well, there's something called the County Line Gang. Have any of you heard about it? Very interesting. As somebody who was born in Whitechapel, I knew about gangs, not about thugs. But I never knew about this County Line Gang. I've got a couple of people come and talk about that. The other thing that is something that came out of really, well, I knew about it, and I'll speak to Phil Kerry. I put this in area. It's the under 17s who run away from the care industry. Now, it so happens, what a lot of you might not know, it's illegal for a young person to run away from home. Now, that's I have several feelings about that one, because not all parents are perfect. I was lucky I had good parents, but are we including somebody who's been beaten up by their parents every night? There are violent people around, and parents are no less violent than anybody else. I was talking to a friend of mine today about who he's never been homeless. But he was talking about he's living with his daughter and his son-in-law. They got a grandson, and he talks about the young boy was taking in some sandwiches and a packet of crisps. And there was a young girl there, and this is 8 years old we're talking about. They just about managed an apple and an orange for this person. He shared a crisp with them, which is nice. I think it's an area to look at. If any of you had experience, please contact me. I'll be interested to talk to you. And that's it. That was the news of the week. There are other things, but these are the things I'm interested in, I must admit. So I'm going to do is wish you a very good weekend. Next week, I have two women from a charity called Just Life. And the work they're doing, I'm amazed. I think it's good work, and it's needed in this day and age. So tune in to next week's episode. And if this is your first time hearing me, I also run a mailing list. There will be no charge for this mailing list. What happens is that every time there's a broadcast, I send you an email. And you get it a day before. Excuse me. Also, once a month I do a newsletter. Now I'm considering the end of this very month to start Patreon thing. And I must admit, I don't know what I can offer people. I've got nothing to offer them. It's just to help me run the podcast and do more with it. But if you're on the mailing list, I won't be saying, if you turn around and say I haven't got any money, I'm asking £10 a month. It doesn't mean that if you don't pay the £10, you won't be on the mailing. You're knocked off the mailing list. No. I don't know. Maybe somebody give me an idea what I could offer. My friend Neil's designed some mugs, but that means I've got to pay for the mugs. And, you can't sort of a couple of hundred probably. Maybe I'll do a t-shirt. Anyway, if you are interested, you can email me at standupspeakoutuk@mail.com. Thank you very much, and goodbye.